Yo, what's good, everybody? GZTV. Welcome to another video. I don't like being quick with my videos, but I somewhat have to be quick. I'm not in uniform for my work, and I have to leave my house in about 35 minutes or so. Do I have to shower? Probably. I'm gonna have to rush this video a little bit. My sister's literally in the shower upstairs. We'll see how this goes. But we have season 2, episode 2 of The Boys. Proper preparation and planning. So yeah, we're just getting into season 2 and the storylines, and the storylines are going to start evolving for the next season. So let's just get into it. Episode 2 of The Boys season 2 begins with Butcher sitting in the basement. From here, we cut back to see what happened to him following season 1's big cliffhanger. So really, we figure out what happened to Butcher because everyone's wondering. This is kind of the big elephant in the room of the show. It's the mystery at this point. Like, what actually happened to him? Disoriented and confused, Butcher awakens in a parking lot of a restaurant. As he heads inside to write down an address, the news report confirms Madeline's death, and they try to blame it on Butcher. Homelander did it. They tried to cover it up, as they do with the Seven every single time. This prompts him to leave. Given his face flashes up on the screen, so he's like, "Can I get a pen, waitress, please?" He needs to write down an address. He needs to, get going there. And he's seen as a criminal, so he has to dip out of there. Back in the basement, Kimiko continues to write boy on her paper, while Butcher and Huey come to blows over Madeline's death. So they're like, "Oh my God, what are we gonna do about this? It's all put on us. We gotta do something about it." Kimiko's starting to learn some English from Frenchie, which is ironic. That blow eventually leads Butcher out to see Grace, where he strikes a deal. If he can bring a super terrorist to her, then they're off the hook. So Grace is someone that works in the FBI. Obviously Butcher has a lot of connections with the FBI, and he's trying to, get her, blackmail her a little bit. Not really, though. It's kind of a fair deal. Homelander visits his son and tries to convince him to use his powers. Homelander, worst dad of the year. While he does, Becca watches on, concerned and worried for her son's well-being. Becca is not with this. She wants her son to live a normal lifestyle. I don't know why Homelander wouldn't want the same for his kid. This is only made worse by Homelander refusing to leave. So Homelander's being kind of a bitch. Obviously Homelander's a big, antagonist. He is probably the main antagonist of this series. He's a superhero. That's what makes the show unique, is they're satirical towards superheroes. But yeah, it's really fucking annoying to see that he's not letting his son live a normal lifestyle, forcing him to do things, peer pressuring him as a father. The Deep embraces his therapy and speaks to Carol. So the Deep's getting therapy. They're trying to help him out. He dug himself kind of in a hole by leaving the Seven and kind of setting up for a very depressing lifestyle, really. But he has Eagle and Carol to surround him. Unfortunately, Carol sees him as a hopeless case. I mean, come on now. That's not something you should be doing as a therapist, saying someone's a hopeless case. Thankfully, Eagle has just the remedy, a shrimp tea. So Eagle's trying to kind of cater to him while he's here in therapy. That tea brings him to the bedroom where his gills start talking to him. So obviously it's like a drug. He got drugged by Eagle to kind of calm him down and make him happy. It's just what he needs too, as they start singing "You Are So Beautiful to Me" harmoniously together. It's an utterly bizarre scene, but one that works surprisingly well. And it's just funny, really. It's kind of comical for his gills to talk to him, and start singing with him. Obviously it's just him singing, but the drugs have him hallucinating so that his gills are singing with him as well. With Stormfront now part of the Seven, this is going to be a big storyline, I'm sure. Starlight delivers a promotional video for the public, so they're really starting to make this girl power movement for the Seven. She then joins Ashley as the group prepared to greet the public. They're talking to news outlets, stuff like that. Only Maeve receives an urgent call and leaves, so Maeve has a call to action. She needs to go somewhere. The call brings her to Elena in hospital, who has listed her as an emergency contact. Wait, I don't remember what happened to Elena. I'm sorry, guys. Eventually, they talk plainly, and she admits the truth about Homelander, the harsh truth that the public should probably know by now, but obviously they don't because they're the Seven, they're corrupt, they hide everything. Yada, yada, yada. While she's gone, Stormfront's unconventional PR sends Ashley spiraling. until A-Train suddenly bursts back onto the scene. Oh my goodness. So A-Train's back in the show, and it only took one episode for him to recover out of the hospital and be back from that heart attack. It doesn't take long before he brings up exactly what happened the night he passed out on Compound V, and tensions cannot be higher. So him and Starlight are having kind of a rivalry. Obviously, those two were like involved in the final fight, the final scene, the final fight of the last season. Yeah, so he passed out because he took too much Compound V. This is only made worse by Gecko giving Starlight the sample of Compound V right in the midst of the party. So that probably made A-Train mad. Thankfully, Stormfront arrives and gives Starlight some pretty sound advice about trapping her facade and being herself. So, Stormfront's kind of pushing that agenda that Starlight's tried to push with the 7 for so long. When Starlight heads back to her apartment, A-Train shows up and finds the sample. So A-Train is on her case. He's done this to Huey. He's going to do this to Starlight. However, she takes Stormfront's advice and stands up for herself. Finally playing as one of the 7, she blackmails him into submission. So Starlight uses some mental manipulation here and, gets him to submit and leave her alone. Meanwhile, the group head on their operation into a costume store. Their target happens to be a guy named Mouse, who just so happens to be Kimiko's brother, so the coincidence. He has some pretty crazy powers too, including moving objects with his hands, so Kimiko's brother has powers as well. I was kind of zoned out at this point in the episode. I still kind of know what happened, but I didn't know the dire details, so me reading this article by the Review Geek and Greg Wheeler, shout out to those guys over there, it's definitely going to help me out. Huey stops Butcher from shooting him down, and the consequences are pretty dire. Mouse knocks down the scaffolding, and he rushes off with Kimiko together. An irate Butcher then kicks Huey out the team. Butcher's like, I can't believe you've done this, Huey. Butcher's definitely a kind of a bad guy, but I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird dynamic that show has. Huey's like, don't shoot. That's Kimiko's brother and everything, and Butcher doesn't want Huey to work together. The rest of the team are not happy with this decision, though, and stand by his side. They're like, Butcher, please, we need Huey. He's done so much for our group. Sighing heavily, Butcher eventually submits and reveals that Becky is still alive, so that's the big plot twist that happens. He's desperate to find her and save the girl from Homelander's tyrannical grip. So really, the whole point of Butcher attacking the Supes is thrown in the trash because his wife is still alive. Obviously, she cheated on him with Homelander, which is still kind of like a thing, but yeah. See the girl from... Yeah. At the same time, Kimiko and Mouse discuss their home village. She tries to convince him to head back to the basement, but he's having none of it. Instead, he uses his powers to hurt his sister, throwing her through an apartment building, so they kind of have an extreme sibling affair, an extreme battle there. It's not enough to stop her. She comes racing back and knocks him out. Just in time, too, as the A-Team show up and bundle Mouse into the back of the car. So now Mouse is going to be on the supervillain team, and he definitely fits that agenda, really. Hurting his own sister. Outside, though, Huey receives a punch to the face of his troubles from Butcher, so Butcher's still not happy with Huey. While the second episode progresses the story forward, the intriguing part of this comes from Starlight's changing persona, a change of heart for her. It's interesting to see her start to stand up for herself and play the 7 at their own game. She stood up in the past, but not straight up to the 7. However, this also comes at the cost of using underhanded tactics and questionable shortcuts. Blackmail is certainly within her forte now, and the more she realizes this, the more it sets up a slippery path down to the dark side. So, she has this new thing to be able to blackmail. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic here. Let's see. The situation with Butcher is starting to become volatile too, and it seems like Huey and Butcher's problems could spill over into something quite destructive going forward. In the process of them going after the Supes, they could definitely have some personal struggles that get in the way of them defeating the Supes. A-Train returning is a concern for everyone. No one likes him. But it's Stormfront who really steals the show. Her personality and carefree attitude really helps her stand out, so she's starting to get some character development in this show, so it's always great for that. For now, though, The Boys solidifies itself as one of the must-watch series, ever, or right now. Let's hope the momentum can continue into episode 3. I'm out. I gotta go get ready for work. Holy shit, I don't want to go, but 7